Okay, this article written by domain.com.au. Let's dive in. Investor opportunity. Tropical North Queensland comes out on top with the highest rental yields in Australia. Cairns is known for many things: its tropical lifestyle, stunning natural beauty, and being a gateway to the Great Barrier Reef. Now it can also add Australia's top place in which to purchase an investment property after the latest rental data reveals Cairns has some of the country's highest unit gross rental yields. Now it can be added to Australia's top place to invest. Yeah, look guys, just on that, Cairns is amazing. I'm born and bred in Cairns, and it does have some amazing investment opportunities, but to come out and say that it's Australia's top place to invest is a very bold statement. And I think with the unit market, it has a lot of high rental yields. That is correct, but I think that's generally where the buck stops. So let's go on and see what the rest of this article says. According to Domain's latest rent report, several suburbs are attaining yields of 8%, which is basically cash flow positive, says Domain Chief of Research and Economics, Dr. Nicola Powell. Okay, it's got a table here of some of the suburbs that are recording these high rental yields in Cairns. Number 1 is Bungalow. Number 2 is Waree. Number 3 is Manunda. Number 4 is Manura. And number 5 is Westcourt. The article then goes on to say, by way of comparison, in Brisbane, the median gross rental yield is 5.7%. And in Sydney, the most expensive capital city in which to rent a unit, it is only 4.5%. Now, definitely when you compare it to Sydney, you can see a variation of around 3 or 4% there in those rental yields. So I can see why a lot of investors are now starting to gravitate towards tropical North Queensland. But if you look at some of the historical figures around the unit and apartment market in Cairns, there are many areas, many suburbs where this product type or asset class has virtually done nothing right. And we're in an environment now, particularly in Cairns, where the vacancy rate sits under 1%. So we have a rental market where rising tide is lifting all ships. So we even see stock like this, which is the units and apartments in Cairns, have really attractive yields because there's just no other rental supply available for rent. So the yields are going to be rather attractive, particularly because a lot of these units and apartments are worth like under 250,000. So the rents relative to the purchase price, naturally you're going to get a high rental yield in that instance. But if you looked at a lot of these established units and apartments in Cairns, they've been cheap for the last 20 years. So if you're an investor chasing positive cash flow, yeah, I would probably recommend something like this for you. But if you're an investor also after, let's say, capital growth, then I believe based on its track record, there's very limited upside here. Look, I'm not saying that across the board, every unit and apartment in Cairns is a bad investment. I think you have to be very particular what I'm saying when you go about navigating the Cairns property market and selecting this as an investment, right? Because there are a lot of complexes that just don't have a lot of the key fundamentals and investment principles needed or required to get an outperforming unit as an investment property in this market. And I've actually touched on a lot of those principles and a lot of those fundamentals in a separate video. I'll leave a link in the show notes to that so you can go ahead and check that out. All right, let's dive into the rest of this. The suburb of Bungalow, just 2.8 kilometers from the Cairns CBD, and currently has Australia's highest median gross rental yield at 8.9%. Apartments there have a median price of just $200,000, which is merely a deposit in the Sydney property market. Yes, that's true, but that is a major red flag, right? When you see a unit and apartment, particularly those that have been established for the last 20 or 30 years, built 20 or 30 years ago, only still worth $200,000, major red flag there, guys. The rest of the article goes on to say that local real estate agent Jack Key of New Level Real Estate says that he's seen many interstate investors flocking to Cairns due to its high rents and affordable property prices. That's a good thing that investors are interested in the market, but it's a matter of what you're buying in Cairns, right? That's the key. People have seen that value, and they have for a while, but it's only increased obviously after COVID-19, he says. He goes on to add that the slowdown of new unit construction has affected the number of apartments available, tightening options for renters. So it's a simple supply and demand problem here, right? Particularly from a rental yield point of view. So the only reason why a lot of the rents are so high in some of this type of stock in Cairns, with this type of stock in Cairns, is because there's just not enough stock available, and new construction is certainly at an all-time low. And I won't dive into that, but we certainly know the issue that's convoluting the construction industry at this point in time. The article then goes on to say that 4 years ago there were 2,000 properties for sale in Cairns. Now there's about 700, he says. Chris Dunham of Dunham Realty calls the Cairns rental market absurd for renters, with a vacancy rate of 0.7%. There again, a rising tide lifts all boats, and even properties like this, which is even low compared to major cities like Sydney and Melbourne. Now there is no waiting time for rental properties, he said. I just left 2 viewings now, and both of those properties will be let in the next hour. Interesting. Dunham says that investors are buying with their calculations rather than with a map, and are being quickly swayed by high rental yields. Now that is a recipe for disaster. We all know when it comes to property investing, location does 80% of the heavy lifting, and if you're buying just solely based on yields alone, you could wind up in an investment mess there, guys. And a lot of the suburbs that are mentioned here, like Westcourt, Manura, Bungalow, these are very low socioeconomic pockets of Cairns and don't have the best demographic there to sustain, let's say, ongoing rental growth, as well as have that owner-occupied desirability to push up unit and rental prices. Look, I'm not saying that all of the investment stock there is rubbish, but I'm saying the large majority of it in those suburbs is rubbish, guys, and you need to shy away from it. Despite the attractive situation for investors, Powell warns that being swayed by substantial rental growth numbers could be risky. There you go. And those looking to invest need to do property research on the area they are buying. Absolutely correct. Gross rental yield is a good indication, but you also want to make sure you are investing and purchasing property in a market that does have strong demand for rentals, because you don't want to be honing on a high rental yield property when perhaps the demand isn't quite there. Amen to Powell for that. That's when things like vacancy rates are really important as well, to understand the balance and overall what level of demand is like for a particular suburb. So basically what she's saying here, that the vacancy rate should be one of the factors you should be using to consider whether a suburb is in high demand or not, but it shouldn't be the only factor and looked at in isolation of other key investment metrics when it comes to picking a good suburb to invest. So yeah, guys, look, I'll take this article from domain.com.au with a grain of salt. I'll leave the article link in the show notes so you can jump in and check that out. But if you are an investor interested in investing in tropical North Queensland as a result of these high yields, or if you are an investor that was initially looking at Cairns as an option because you were swayed by a lot of the high yields there in that market, you need to be very careful when you go out and buy units and apartments in this market, because historically they don't have the greatest of track records, and there is an oversupply of a lot of the stock there, particularly that have, I suppose, rental appeal that is only fit for the rental market. There is an overabundance of that. But what there is a very finite and limited amount of is a lot of units and apartments in Cairns that have owner-occupier appeal, that are in more boutique, high-end complexes, that are in good locations, that I believe make good investments. So those, I believe, are the ones that you should be looking at and targeting if you are buying a unit and apartment in this market. Cheers, guys, and good luck.